We are going to discuss about the two General Mathenges. There is Stanley Mathenge. I think there's a street in Nairobi called General Stanley Mathenge or General Mathenge Avenue. General Stanley Mathenge, who was a Mau Mau leader, and the Ethiopian who was brought to Kenya as General Mathenge. You will see that in many, nowadays, political parties only have the political arm. But pre-independence, we used to have two arms. We used to have the political arm, and we also had the military arm. Even during the guerrilla tactics, such as Museveni's NRM and NRA, the NRM was the political movement side and NRA was the army side. The same with FERA, that is February 18 Revolution Army, and also February 18 movement. So Mau Mau had two arms. There was the political, which was headed by Mathenge from Othaya. Yes, from Othaya. And there was the armed side, which was by Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi from Mukurweini. From Mukurweini, both in Nyeri. These were the Mau Mau overall leaders. And I've said that previously, political groupings had two arms, the political and the military wing. Now, for intelligence services, if you have an organization such as Mau Mau, or even such groups, and they will always want to, we will always want to know what is happening there. And it becomes even better if there are two or more wings disagreeing with each other. A very good example, the recent Ford, when the original Ford was formed in 1990, it split into two. There was the initial one, which was called Ford Ajip House branch, and then there was the Ford Muthidi House branch or group. Now we used to call this one Ford Ajip House because they had their offices on Ajip House along Haile Selassie Avenue. And the other one was called Ford Muthidi House, which had their offices at Muthidi House along Muthidi Road, from Museum to Westlands, somewhere there. So when a group is divided into two, the intelligence have a feed way, because this arm will report on the other and vice versa. And like the Ford was split by the authority. The authority knew that if Ford went to an election as united, they would take it. I want to give you a simple example. Suppose KANU had 40% and Ford had 60%. Obviously, Ford would take over. But if they are split into two, 30-30, or is it 29-31, 28-32, something like that, and the other one has 40. So you'll find that the split, the authority, when they split, they have an interest. And the intelligence actively divided the original Ford, and the final nail was the advice by the Attorney General, Amos Wako, where he was telling them that if they have irreconcilable differences, then they should uh, register themselves as two different entities. So it was first the Ajip side that went to the Register of Society, and you see the Register of Society was waiting for them happily. I went there and said we are going to be the restoration of democracy in Kenya. So they came up with Ford Kenya. But then the Mudhidi House said, but we are the original owners of Ford. So they said we are restoration of democracy, forum for restoration of democracy. Asili. Asili is the Swahili word for original. Likewise, several years ago, before, that is around 50 years before that was in the 50s, the British Army infiltrated Mau Mau and divided the two. They divided the two, and that is why they managed to finish off Mau Mau. I want to say Mau Mau was recognized as a terrorist organization by the colonialist government, by the Jomo Kenyatta government, and by Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi government. It is only Mwai Kibaki government that recognized Mau Mau as freedom fighters. Now, when these people turned against each other, you know, when they are united, they beat you. But when they are not united, they start fighting themselves. You get less and less attention. You may even become a spectator among them. And that is when things got tough for Mathenge. That Mathenge said, that was 1955. Mathenge started telling people that things are so hot that people should look for a mall hall. Mall hall. And he used to go and tell people around, I'm also going to look for a very big mall hall that I'll go and hide myself there because things are becoming too hot. He talked that for some time, and then later he even told people he was headed to Ethiopia. Now I want to pause there and tell you. He said that he was headed to Ethiopia, and he was a Mau Mau. You see, Mau Mau and like every other guerrilla tacticians, you the thing that you tell somebody is the last thing that somebody should trust you. A Mau Mau person can tell you I'm going east, whereas he's going to west. So, by saying that I'm going to Ethiopia, we have for very many years, over 70 years, believed that he went north. He may have gone westward, he may have gone eastwards, he may have gone southwards. There is a 360 degrees in a circle. So you would have headed any of the other 359. But we heard from his mouth when he said he was going to Ethiopia. And everybody started believing that he was going to Ethiopia. It is quite possible that he headed elsewhere. And when he told people he was going to Ethiopia, nobody has ever positively identified him anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Of course, he was seen going past Mwega. Mwega is north of Nyeri, and going to Laikipia in that direction. Who knows that after reaching Laikipia, he took a roundabout way and headed maybe to Tanzania or anything. So, in 1955, General Stanley Mathenge disappeared, assumed dead. assumed dead. I think the best way for us to do is assume that he died there. And he was with a few bodyguards. I can tell you, as somebody who has attended VIP protection, your worst enemy is your bodyguard. That is why when I went for witness protection, I said that I am my own bodyguard. I refused government offer for bodyguards, because the bodyguard is the person who will be. He doesn't need to be so complicated. Take the case of James Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Professor James Ngugi wa Thiong'o. They used to meet to discuss things about Kamirithu. They would meet, talk, whatever. And they were diehards. Nobody of them could disclose. So what did they do? Special branch recruited Mrs. Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And the only thing she needed to do was to tell the people, to tell us that Mzee Jana, when they're discussing, there's a time when they are served tea. They are served juice. If it is a hot day, juice. If it's a cold day, tea. But you see, when she arrives with her drinks, they say, eterera mutumia athie kwaja. Yani, those are the people who believe that when men are discussing, atumia matirendeka kuigura turaria goko tondu ni maundu maria it's not a Kikuyu program. Women are not supposed to listen to what we are doing. Women are supposed to. So his own wife, the mother of his children, stands there. They keep quiet. She serves them whatever she serves them, and then when she is gone, they continue. So her purpose of telling the intelligence was that today was a meeting that is important. 2, who are the people who attended the meetings? So and so, so and so, so and so. So we could corner that person and say, we had you are 7 people, and the other 6 have talked about you. Now telling 5 people that, telling 6 people that, the only person you could not crack was, of course, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. When Ngugi wa Thiong'o noticed that is when he ran away. And if you want to know much about that, I've recorded about how the lady he married later was harassed because of that. Just scroll down and see. So we are back to Mathenge. Telling you that Mathenge went to Ethiopia or anything, it may have been his way of shaking. And his bodyguards may have killed him or anything of that. You never know. So we spent so many years assuming that Mathenge went to Ethiopia. Then Kibaki took over. And it was said that when Kibaki took over, it was said that there was a journalist. There was a journalist whom I'm forgetting his name. A very good propagandist who claimed that he had gone to Ethiopia and found General Mathenge. Why am I saying he's a good propagandist? When Moi took over, he needed a lot of propaganda to be accepted and stay there. And he took 2 journalists, Philip Ochieng and the other one, to come up with a very good book, a very good cooked book, which was to be good for the administration. Now, this journalist, whom I've forgotten his name, he's the one who claimed to have gone to Ethiopia and found General Mathenge. And you see, rumors travel. Have you noticed? There's a day you can cook a story. I knew that from my special branch days. You can cook up a story, go to the trading center, start it. Then it starts going in, let's say, clockly method. Okay, you have said, as it goes, it is added chumvi, So that when it goes round the 360 and comes back to you, the originator of the story, you are the first person to be shocked. Hey, kumbe this thing I was thinking, now this is the right version, eh? So you also start believing that what my inner body told me that this is what is happening is actually what has happened. So that is how the story went, and it even reached Ethiopia, and Ethiopians believed that among them, living among them, was a Kenyan called Mathenge. And if you are a keen listener, it took me. There are some things you just take 3 minutes of listening, and you conclude, and your conclusion is right. This man, this Ethiopian man, who was brought to Kenya and declared to be Mathenge, his name was Ato Lema Ayanu. He was asked at the airport, "Are you General Mathenge?" Just the day he arrived, he never even once claimed to be Mathenge. He would talk in Amharic, and the Ethiopian government was gracious enough to supply us with a translator. And when he was asked whether he was General Mathenge, he said, my mother and General Mathenge are siblings. He is my uncle. That is what he said at the airport. And Koigi Wamwere was there dancing with his rasta. Mathengo yo wito ni oyo okire. Mathengo yo wito ni oyo okire. So, it was after, and you see the government did bad. This is somebody who has already said that he's not General Mathenge, but they tricked him and took his DNA. And when the DNA was taken, he had no relationship with Mathenge. And he was silently taken back to Ethiopia. General Mathenge Stanley, who is a wall, presumably dead, was born in 1919. And he grew up like any other person, and even participated in the Second World War in Burma. Then he came back to Kenya, and you can see most of our freedom fighters who were influenced by the Second World War. The Second World War, you know, when British were dying in Kenya or anything, they would silently be buried or be taken back to Britain for burial. And so Africans did not know that the British do die. Africans did not know that under express tension of death. I have been there. I have fought Ngoroko. I have fought Shifta. Al-Shabaab, we just came the other day when I was no longer in service. There are those occasions when it is hell fire, and you the first thing you do is you just want two things. You want to kill the enemy and you want to survive. Just that. Anything else, and that is when you even find people like my friend Morris Nyongeza Wanyonyi would start crying. Kumurundu kwase kwa khairo kumurundu. Yani you talk, the raw you comes in. So that is when the Africans, when went to the Second World War, they came back and saw, you imagine a Mzungu whom you used to believe is a semi-god has been shot, and he cries to you and say, "Hey, please bring, tear your shirt, bandage my leg, otherwise I'll bleed to death," whatever. And if you saved his life, he would hug you, like a sibling. So that is when the freedom fighters came back and knew that kumbe these people are just human like us. Na wanatunyanyasa, they are not the semi-god. So at least Hitler played a good part in liberating us, because if he would not have caused the Second World War, we would still believe that Europeans are semi-god. That one is about General Stanley Mathenge from Othaya, Nyeri. Kuria mutigaire maito aumire, na kuria mutigaire maito akomete. Koma thayu maito wakwa, tutugacemania matu-ine muthenya ungi.